2-3 verses, Bhagavan is very quickly summing up this very brief exposition of Karma Yoga. A more elaborate exposition of Karma Yoga you will find in the 3rd, 4th and 5th chapters. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantyanāmayam. So as I said, the last 3 verses of the section, Bhagavan is quickly trying to sum up the path of karma, Sankhya and Yoga, because immediately it is not of relevance to Arjuna. There are many modern scholars who say the original teaching of the Bhagavad Gita was only up to this 53. The rest of it has been added by somebody else. Because this discussion about the nature and the characteristic of a Siddha Prajna, suddenly Arjuna becomes very knowledgeable about these and wants to know more about this, which they feel is rather, at this time, not very relevant to Arjuna's practice. So, karmajam phalam buddhi yuktaha manishinaha. So, karmajam phalam tyaktva, giving up the attachment to karma phala, these buddhi yukta manishinaha, whose buddhi is thus attuned by karma yoga, such human being, manishinaha, janma bandha vinirmukta anamayam padam gacchanti, freed from the cycle of birth and rebirth, they reach that state, that immortal state. So the last phase of yogic discipline, wherein the Atma Jnani merges completely with the Brahma Tattva. So at that stage he reaches, and when such an individual reaches that stage, what is his inner state? It is described in 52-53. Yadate buddhi moha kalinam yadidarishyati. The buddhi has transcended all the confusions and agitations of the intellect. Moha kalinam. Tada gandhati nirvedam shrotavyasya shutasya cha. It's a very beautiful verse. It says, then he becomes totally indifferent. Gandhasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shutasya cha. What has been heard, shrutasya. Shrotavyasya, what is yet to be heard, that is about future. He becomes indifferent towards whatever has happened in the past, whatever will happen in the future. See, that usage of the term Shruta and Shrotavya. Shrotavya is an imperative, that is should be heard. Shruta, that has already been heard. Already been heard, already been experienced, it's become the past. Shrotavyam is that is yet to be heard. That is the future. So past and future it becomes totally indifferent. So phalam tyaktva, karmajam phalam tyaktva, buddhi yukta manishinaha. Those human beings that have thus become buddhi yukta, the buddhi has become equanimous. They reach this state. Their minds are free from all confusions. There is no moha in the mind. Buddhir vyaditarishyati. The buddhi crosses over. Nirvedam gandhati. You become disinterested, not bothered by what is yet to be heard, what has already been heard. It's a transcendence of time here. And this is, remember, the final, is talking about the final stages of the practice of Sankhyayoga, that you reach this state of consciousness. Shuddhi vipradipannate yatastasyadi nischala. When the buddhi becomes firm and steady, stasyadi nischala. not agitated by whatever it has experienced or will experience. Shuddhi vipradipanna. Samadhau buddhi achala nischala stasyati. So in the state of samadhi, the buddhi becomes absolutely without any motion, absolutely steady. If you remember that I used to quote that line from the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the total restraint of thought waves. So when he says Shuddhi vipradipanna te buddhi, the buddhi which was always vacillating, agitated, anxious, full of thought disturbances, when yada nischala achala stasyati, there is no thought generation, there is no darting into the past and looking into the future. The buddhi is reached the state of samadhi, samadhau. Tada yogam avapsyasi. Generally, as a quick rounding up of the final points, tada yogam avapsyasi, then he is said to have attained to the state of yoga. So, achala nischala buddhi. And there is a total cessation of thought movement. He said, this is the end. So Arjuna said, Arjuna uvacha, Siddhaprajnasya ka bhasha. What is the definition, the description of a Siddhaprajna? So such a yogi, Siddhaprajna, whose mind has become samadhistaha, established in samadhi. What is his definition? Is there a standard definition like that? Kim siddhati prabhasheta. What will he speak? How will he speak? Kim asita. How does he sit down? Rajeda kim. How does he move around? So what is the behavior pattern of a Siddhaprajna who is samadhistaha? Then having attained to that state in samadhi, when he gets out of it and moves and interacts with the world, how has that experience totally transformed his being? Please tell me. Arjuna becomes very curious about his Siddhaprajna. Something that, as far as he was concerned, was a faraway goal. But since, as I said, the text of the Gita, starting from the text on which Shankaracharya commented upon, includes this also. Shankaracharya's text is the standard text taken. That this is the actual text of the original Gita. It admits of this as well as the earlier verses. Now let us say what Bhagavan has to say about the description of Siddhaprajna, his state of consciousness and how he moves around interacting with the world. Jahadi was totally eliminated. What? Sarvan manogadan kaman. All desires that were there hiding or lurking in his mind, he has totally eliminated them. That is the negative state. All desires removed. Does he become the vacuum state? Atmanyeva atmana tushta. But having eliminated all these desires, he was become fulfilled in the Atma. Siddhaprajnaha tada uchyate. Then he is said to be Siddhaprajna. So remember the original request. Samadhistasya Siddhaprajnasya bhasha. What is the person condition who is established in samadhi? Afterwards, how does kim asida vrajeda kim? So it's called the vyuthana avastha. Vyuthana means have got up, come out. So in the state of samadhi as well as out of it, How does he behave? Please tell me. So Bhagavan says, when all these desires which were there in the mind, manogadan kaman, he has abandoned prakashena jahadi. How? Atmanyeva atmana tushta. Because he has become happy, fulfilled, complete in the Atma. So the state of Atma Jnana wherein the source of desires have been eliminated. If you remember the fundamental 3 steps. Avidya, Kama, Karma. The original avidya, the ignorance of our true Atma Swarupa, gives rise to desires, Kama. And these desires propel me into action. So the 3 stages of avidya, Kama, Karma is dealing with here. By the realization of the self, Atmanyeva Atmana Tushta, Manogadan Sarvan Kaman Prajahadi. So in the state of Samadhi, when all such thoughts and thought-generated desires have ended, the desire, the mind is no more raising its chala, it is achala, nischala. It is totally quiet. It's not an empty state. It's a state of fullness. Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. Fulfilled by the Atma in the Atma. His prajna. See, Krishna has never used this word with a prajna at all till now. Arjuna is the one who is using it. So, stitham prajnam yasya, sasthita prajna. He whose wisdom has become firm, established, firm rooted, stitha. And this prajna consists of what? It consists of the knowledge that I am the Atma transcending the stula, sukshma, karana, shariras. These equipments of experience I am not. So if I am not these layers of personality, what am I? Who am I? Lo, the Sthita Prajna has discovered the sense of fulfillment, Atmanyeva Atmana Tushta. Fulfilled in the Atma by the Atma. He's become an Atma Jnani. Ajnana has come to an end. Avidya has been counteracted by Vidya. Vidya avidyam nihantyeva. Tejas timira sangavata. Like light removes darkness, Vidya has ended avidya. Then his wisdom has become steady. So in the state of Samadhi, this is the condition. A perfect inner alignment, we may say. The rootedness in the self, totally undistracted by anything external. The happiness that he has been seeking, he has discovered the Atma as the source of that happiness. Tarati shokam atmavita. The Chandogya Upanishad says, he who has come to know the Atma, Atmavita, shokam tarati, has crossed over all sorrow, because he has positively discovered the Atma Swarupa, which is Ananda Swarupa, Sukha Swarupa. Yo vai bhuma tat sukham na alpe sukhamasti. Same Upanishad says. In the infinite, bhuma, there is sukham. In the limited, there is no sukha. Adyanta vanta kaunteya na deshu ramade bhutaha. Bhagavan himself would say in the 5th chapter. So it is that state, free from all craving and lack, the state of total fulfillment. A person is established in that. And when he has thus discovered what is his true nature, dukkheshu anudvignamanaha, sukheshu vigadaspriha, the mind unagitated in dukkha, vigadaspriha sukheshu, unattached to sukha, vida raga bhaya krodha. So raga bhaya krodha, vitaha means free from these emotions and passions. Sa stidadhihi muiruchyate. He is said to be a man of perfect wisdom. So it's a very brief description of a very few verses. But within the compass of these verses, Bhagavan has tried to give us a clear picture of what is that inner state of affairs, so that we may be motivated to pursue the spiritual path, because all of us, as human beings, we are seeking sukha prapti and dukkha nivritti. So the being not agitated when dukkha comes, anudvignamana. The external events, pleasant and unpleasant, will continue to happen, even to a siddha prajna. The world doesn't change. It is your identity and consciousness that has changed. I know what I am, who I am. And the siddha prajna functions from that platform. The world outside of Sukha Dukkha, the procession of Sukha Dukkha, continues in his case also. But how does he react to them? How his vision of himself is changed? How does he react to these external factors? Tat prapya shubha shubham na abhinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. So again and again he is almost like a lullaby. Tasya prajna pratishtita. His wisdom is steady. Who? Yaha. Sarvatra anabhisnehaha. Everywhere unattached. Tat prapya shubha shubham na abhinandati na dveshti. Whenever pleasant and unpleasant events happen, he is never upset and agitated or depressed by them. So under all conditions and whatever be the state of affairs in the world, he does not react to them as an individual. It's because of our different likes and dislikes we interact and express in the world differently. So if you have eliminated these ragadveshas, under different circumstances your reactions would be uniform. You have nothing to gain from the world, nothing to lose to the world. So there is no attachment to anything. Attachment is nothing but ego plus egocentric desire. I want this for myself. Only if I get this, I will be happy. So when I am attached to things, I try to keep them to myself. I become selfish and possessive. Because this object is giving me a certain degree of happiness, and I want that happiness always, I hold on to it. I become attached to that. If my happiness doesn't depend upon anybody or anything in the world, there is an inner sense of paripurnata, fulfillment, fullness. Things are there, fine. Things are not there, fine. People are there, fine. People are not there, fine. It is this lack of dependence you must understand as detachment. Detachment is not lack of love or some form of hatred. It is this total freedom from dependence. The world cannot give anything to such a person. He doesn't want also anything from the world. So the constant changing patterns in the world doesn't affect him. Sarvatra anabhisneha shubha-shubham prapya na abhinandadi na dveshti. He does not hate, he does not condemn, he does not get agitated. When events we call it as shubham, other events we call it ashubham happens. So the changing events of the world he doesn't try to stop. Agade swagadam kuryad gachandam nanivarayed. Whatever comes, welcome it. What goes, let it go. Don't let the world dictate. Your source of happiness and peace, of tranquility and security, has become the Atma. You have become Atma, Atmic centered, we may say. Not objects and people centered. The Atma is Ananda Swarupaha, Shanti Swarupaha. And when I know through Aparoksha Anubhuti, Aparoksha Jnana, that I am this is my very nature. Nobody can take away this happiness from me. And this happiness is not dependent upon anything outside. Such a person is centered in the self. Therefore, Shubha Shubham Tat Tat Prapya Na Abhinandati Na Dveshti. So equanimous and prashanta under all conditions. Further, Yada Samharade Chayam Kurmaha Anganiva Sarvashaha. He is able, like a tortoise, withdrawing his limbs into its shell, Indriyani Indriyartebhya Samharade Tasya Prajna Pratishtita. When a tortoise withdrawing its limb when he sees some external attack or challenge, it's able to withdraw the head and the legs into the shell and you can't do anything. So similarly in the case of this person, he is able to withdraw from the world, switch off from the world at a moment's notice and be centered in the Atma, which is his natural state. So the external world of things and beings, their presence and absence, don't add, they do not subtract. Tasya prajna pratishtita. But this condition of Hida prajna is unlike an ordinary person who is practicing self-control. So the next verse is important. Vishayaha vinivartante niraharasya dehina. A person who is saying no, no, no. Nirahari. Fasting, generally it means that. Such a dehi. Objects keep away from him because he says tired. I don't want, I don't want, I don't want. People start offering to you. But in his mind, rasavarjam, when he says no, the craving in the mind has not gone. He has only outwardly, as a matter of discipline, said no. So leaving behind the craving, rasavarjam, niraharasya dehinaha vishaya vinivartante. The sense objects may be kept away or keep away. But rasavarjam, rasopyasya param drishtva nivartade. So param drishtva means obviously the prajna, who has had a vision of the Supreme, who has come to know that I am Satchidananda Swarupa. I don't have to go begging for happiness at the doors of any objects in the world. So param drishtva, having seen the highest, rasobi nivartate, even this craving disappears. The vasanas have been exhausted and eliminated. The world of objects can no more attract such a person or disturb him in any way. So the mastery, the self-mastery of a Buddha is different from the self-mastery of a sadhaka. A person who is Buddha, I am using in a general sense of an awakened person, not Buddha the historical. So to a Buddha or Prabuddha, Buddha, Adyantavanta Kaunteya, Nateshu Ramade Buddha, Bhagavan will say later. He is unperturbed. He knows things will come, things will go. I don't have to depend upon them to be happy and peaceful. Prashantoham, Sukhaswarupoham, Anandaswarupoham. And the essence of happiness, essence of peace. So where should I go begging and seeking for this? So Astya Rasopi, Param Drishtva, having realized, known the truth, that is eliminated. It's perfect, the control you can say. Yatado hyapi purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramadhini manaprasabam varanti. So though it is true of the prajna, who's param drishtva, who's got the paradrishti, the average student, Bhagavan is telling, the average seeker, yatatopi, though he is attempting to control and master, vipaschitaha purushasya, who's got discriminative intellect. Such a person may discriminate and keep objects away. But indriyani pramadhini, he must realize the sense organs are very powerful. Haradi pradhabham manaha. They can possibly take away the senses. So he has to be on guard. Pani samyamya yuktaha matparaha asita. Such a yogi, practitioner is meaning here. He must, controlling all the indriyas, matparaha asita. Let his mind be fully focused and concentrated upon me. Don't keep the mind empty. The mind, all types of thoughts and forces can enter your mind. So keep the mind positively engaged. So a blank mind will not take you far. So let his thoughts be preoccupied with my own nature. Mat paraha yukta asida. Let him remain absorbed in me. Vashehi yasyendriyani. He whose indriyas are thus mastered. Tasya prajna pratishtita. His prajna becomes steady. So in the initial stage, positive mind must be given positive thoughts. A stage comes when thoughts will cease arising. Otherwise the thoughts keep arising from all directions as it were. And if you don't occupy the mind, as we say, devil's workshop, all types of thought can land. And we get carried away by that. So a person, a spiritual sadhak yuktaha, has to be very careful. And how careful he has to be? The next 62 and 63 verses are picturizing that. These two verses again are very famous. Dhyayado vishayan pumsaha sangaha teshu upajayate. How do I get attached to things? When the mind daydreams, the mind muses, how nice. One casual thought, you are hooked. Sangateshu upajayate. Slowly it becomes attached to how nice. When that attachment, sangatsam jayade kamaha, desire arises from that I must have this. The mind has become attached to it. Imagine painted all wonderful pictures of how it will be if I have it. The mind always does that. Once it has taken to that stage of desire, the next stage is, I must have. I must get. So the thought current changes direction and goes towards that object. When the thought is moving towards this object of desire, something comes in between. Before I get, somebody has already got it. I can't fulfill that desire. So this stream of thought flowing toward that desirable object comes across an obstacle. In physics we say a turbulence happens. A stream of water flowing. Suddenly you put something in it. The water around now that object will be, frothing. That's called turbulence. So when this desire thought stream is flowing, something comes in between. I can't fulfill the desire. Kamat krodho vijayate. Unfulfilled desire makes me angry. Krodhat bhavadi sammoha. The mind becomes wild, confused, misguided. Sammoha smriti vibhrama. A confusion of the intellect and memory. What you are doing, to whom you are talking, all these you suddenly forget in that anger. In that anger you see red. You become angry and say and do things which maybe lifelong you will regret. So when a desire is not fulfilled, the same thought current becomes krodha, anger. If it is fulfilled, the sammoha is in form of greed. Lobha. So kama, krodha, lobha, moha. I want more, I want more, I want more. Because this much of happiness I got from this much, if I have a little more, the mind calculates. I'll have greater happiness, which doesn't happen. So both sammoha in the form of krodha and the form of lobha leads towards smriti vibhrama. A confusion of memory, he says. Smriti bhramshat buddhinasha. When the smriti has ended, buddhi comes to an end. You stop discriminating. You don't know what you are doing. You behave in any way. You forgot your status and culture and education, etc., all gone. Why? Smriti bhramsha. Toward buddhinasha, the discriminative power comes to an end. Buddhinashat pranashyati. You are finished, you are destroyed by that buddhinasha. It is the buddhi, that discriminative power that keeps you under check most of the time. If that buddhi is not there, you will behave like a wild animal. Sometimes when people get angry, you wonder, is it the same person whom I know otherwise? Become so full of anger, wild and terrifying also. So, buddhinasha, the ladder of fall. Dhyayado vishayan tesha sangha upajayate. Sangatam jayate kamaha. Kamat krodho vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammoha smriti vibhrama. Smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Therefore, nip it in the bud. Stop the dhyayado vishayan. Don't daydream about objects. And give them exaggerated value addition. How wonderful it is, no? You give it the value, the object doesn't have it. And thus it bloated becomes, you become obsessed with it.